think we'll give it 2 more minutes. I will give it 2 more minutes and then we can get started. Hare Krishna. I welcome everyone to the let me start. Hare Krishna. I welcome everyone to Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call. Thank you all so much for joining us today. And we are very, very fortunate to have Her Grace Radhika Kasturi Mataji with us. And Mataji will be walking us through the verse number 4 of Sri Isopanishad. So thank you for consistently joining. And we have already seen 3 verses already, including the invocation. So that is total of 4. And today is going to be the 4th verse, which is the 5th class of Sri Isopanishad. And bear in mind it has 18 verses. So we might end up going up to 18 weeks, or we may reduce. We might club a few verses together. We will plan that accordingly. But please continue to join and get benefited from this series. So Mataji, you all know Radhika Kasturi Mataji. She needs no introduction. She's very popular, very well-known face in Bhakti Sangha. Mataji, you can now take over and please explain verse 4 to everyone. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Preeti Vilasini Mataji. Thank you, Vinita Gandhavika Mataji, for organizing this call. Totally appreciate it. And thank you for this beautiful opportunity. So today we, as Mataji said, we'll be looking into verse 4. But before that, we can get started with our prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschayata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vranda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, and having taken shelter at His lotus feet. Our respectful obeisances unto Spiritual Master, servant of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami. You are kindly preaching this message of Lord Chaitanya Deva and delivering the Western countries, which is filled with impersonalism and voidism. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Advaita Acharya, Gadadhara Pandit, Srivas Thakur, and all devotees of Lord Chaitanya. So, dear devotees, I offer my humble obeisances to all of you on the call so that I may be able to speak the relevant words of Srila Prabhupada. Kindly bless me so that I'm able to do so. Thank you so much. Again, we're going to understand this verse number 4. Who is Krishna? He is supremely independent. So again, we always try to connect these verses and see what is the connection between the previous verse to this verse, right? I mean, so our goal in today's class also is to see what is the connection here. Again, the previous verse that Preeti Vilasi Mataji nicely summarized it for us, verse 3, which talked about who are the asuras and why is this human form of life given to us, and what are the different destinations the people go to, and what is the purpose of our human life. And who are asuras? They are the killers of the soul. And these asuras, what are they trying to do? They are trying to actually understand Krishna by their own mind and senses. Is it possible to understand Krishna by their mind and by your mind and senses? Not at all possible. That is what this verse explains. So the Lord is inconceivable, and by the mundane minds of people, we cannot understand Krishna. He is supremely independent. That is the purpose of understanding verse number 4 that we are going to see in today's class. And again, what is the connection between the verses 4 and 5? The conception of Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? How inconceivable is this potency? And what is the transcendental reflection to this creation? I mean, this is something that we would be talking about, the inconceivable potency of the Lord, the characteristics of the Lord. What are the features of the Lord? How can we say he's supremely independent? What does that mean to us as sadhakas? Those are the things that we'll be seeing in today's verse. Again, I think somebody is not on mute. If you don't mind, thank you so much, dear devotees. I really appreciate it. It just rings in your ears and you're just not able to focus because of that. So what I was trying to say was, again, the theme for today is Krishna is in his abode, which is Goloka, and yet he is simultaneously present everywhere. How is this possible? How is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is staying in his dham, which is the spiritual world in Goloka, and even though he's staying there, he's seen everywhere in this material world. So that is the theme that we are going to see. How is it possible? Isn't it? We need to definitely understand. How are we to understand? That is something that we will see in today's class. So we'll go into the verse number 4. Is anybody volunteering to read verse number 4 for us? Yes, Mukund, go ahead, dear.
Anejadekam manasajaviyo naina deva apnuvan purvam arshat tadhavatonyam ati yeti tishthat tasmin apomaitarayisva dadhati. Thank you, Mataji.
Yes. Wonderful. Thank you, Mukund, for volunteering and such a with such nice think meter. You just recited it so nice. Thank you, Mukund. So translation. What is the translation? Although fixed in his abode, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is swifter than the mind and can overcome all others running. The powerful demigods cannot even approach him. Although in one place, he controls those who supply air and rain. He surpasses everybody, all in excellence. This is what Srila Prabhupada writes. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we are trying to understand from verse number 4, the absolute truth's characteristics, right? The absolute truth is ultimately a person. Therefore, in this verse, we are elaborately going to see his personal features, namely the Supreme Lord. He is the fastest, he is the fearless, he is the incomprehensible, he is omnipotent, and he is source of all actions that we are going to, all actions that take place. So Now we need to understand different things that are laid out here. So we will try to do it one by one maybe, and then try to understand what are these different characteristics that is being laid out in verse number 4. So Lord is situated in one place. We all understand that. He's fixed in one place, okay? That is his Golokadam in the spiritual world. At the same time, it is mentioned here that, he moves faster than the wind, right? He moves faster than the wind. And yet the absolute truth is swifter than the mind in terms of its movements. Everything is terms of movements. You have to understand that, dear devotees. So none of the devatas can actually approach the Lord. Why? Because he goes farther and farther. He goes far away from everybody that nobody is able to approach him. So the summary here, so as to speak, is that the attributes of the Lord, when we see, in the sense, are all fixed. He is faster than everyone else. He's faster than the devatas, and he's faster than the mind. Okay. And now we are going to see, we are talking about big elements like water and rain, isn't it? Water and wind, I'm sorry. So rain and wind is being talked about. What does that mean? And how can we actually relate Supreme Lord to this? So that is something we will be understanding as well. So this first slide is going to remain here so that we are going to understand what are the features that are named here in the slide will be discussed in one by one in detail. So he's the controller. He's the controller of what? Rain and wind. So let's actually look into Srila Prabhupada's translation. He says he controls those who supply air and rain. So what is the point he's saying? He's controlling those who's supplying air and rain. We all know rain spreads everywhere, isn't it? But the Supreme Lord, where is he? He is fixed in one place. But he controls what? The thing that is moving everywhere. That is how he surpasses everybody in excellence. So there is a contrast here. There is a contrast that we can evidently see how Srila Prabhupada actually tries to help us understand this contrast. He says, yeah, we have Supreme Lord in one place, but then we have rainwater, which is spreading over everywhere. But even though it spreads everywhere, the Supreme Lord, who is standing in one place, is able to control the rain, which is spreading out everywhere. Now, what about the wind? I'm sorry. Now, what about the wind, right? Wind is the next thing that we need to understand. So again, from the point of wind, there is a contrast here, which we need to understand. So wind, if you look into it, it is a most intangible thing, so as to speak. We cannot really see it, but it is there. It is a force that controls everything. Okay. Now we need to understand what controls our body. What controls our body? Our body is controlled by an element called prana, right? There are 5 elements: prana, apana, samana, udhana, and vyana. These are the 5 winds, that is air currents, that actually control our body. Again, Ayurveda explains very much in detail what are the functions of these elements. That is not the intention of this class, okay? So we need to understand just this contrast so we can appreciate Lord's glory. That's the point. We need to understand the characteristic of the Lord, and for that we are trying to compare what is the function of the wind versus how Lord is glorified here in terms of his characteristics. So just like everything in our body is controlled by prana, the whole universe, it is controlled by what? It is controlled by the subtle element called wind. So the moving principle, wind, again, is the subtle process that we are talking about, but then it is controlling everything. If you look at it from that perspective, like how prana is controlling our body, the wind is controlling everything in this material world, because the wind is this moving principle. Again, we are seeing a contrast here, moving principle. Wind is not stationary, isn't it? Wind means it has to blow, it has to move, it has to, it is a moving principle. It can be stationary. But the Lord, who doesn't move, who's just in one place, is able to control this wind, which is moving. This is the point, dear devotees, we need to understand. So we saw how rain is controlled by Lord, which is also spread out everywhere. And then we also saw how wind is actually, it's not a stable stationary element, but then it is moving principle. It is the most subtle element, but then it is controlled by the Lord, who is in one place. So whom does everything depend on? It depends on the Lord. This is the point, okay? So from this Isopanishad, we also need to understand Lord is a personality, isn't it? God is a person. How can we understand God is a person? So many impersonalists, they are saying, oh man, God is light. God is, he's just a, he's Brahmajo, he's Brahman effulgence, right? Yes, he is, of course, that's a partial manifestation of the Lord. But then Lord is personal, he's reciprocal. And that is why we are able to see in this mantra, there are so many different arguments that are being given and stated. He says, the verse says, yes, he stands. He's in one place. He controls. So this person who is able to control, he's a person. Not only that he's a person, but he's an extraordinary person. He's not just like an ordinary person, like everybody. No way. He's above everybody and beyond everybody, and he's the cause of all causes. This is what we need to understand. His greatness needs to be understood, isn't it? That's when we will relish the sweetness of the Lord's pastimes. His greatness has to be appreciated and glorified by dear devotees in order to get into the mood of rasa. So that is why we need to understand. Yes, we can understand this, Mataji. Yeah, he's fastness. But how? That is interesting, isn't it? That's what this verse actually helps us understand. How is the Supreme Lord great? What are his personal features? Oh, is it that even I have some personal features? Does it mean I'm God? No way. He's extraordinary. He controls everything. We are being controlled by him, isn't it? So we need to understand God's greatness and glorification. That is what this verse number 4 is all about. And then now we understand God as a person, isn't it? So let's move on to our next slide and understand how is Lord incomprehensible. I'm sorry, I don't know how to actually get this taken care of. Maybe, yeah. So the Lord is not subjected to our limited capacity of understanding. Even great philosophers, sages, demigods cannot know him from the speculation. Mental speculation, you can't know the Lord. Or reach him by traveling through space at the speed of wind or mind for millions of years. No, we cannot understand him through our endeavor. I mean, of course, we have to put in our endeavor, but what ultimately has to come is something that has to come from the Lord. That is the mercy. And we just receive that mercy, prasad, from the Lord to understand him. So that is what we're going to discuss now. So now Srila Prabhupada states in his commentary, if you look at the commentary, he talks about categories of people who can never understand Lord. Who are those people who can never understand Lord? Those people who simply try to understand Lord by their minds. No, our mind is polluted. This is material mind. The material mind cannot understand something spiritual, isn't it? It's logic. Even if you go by logic, the material mind cannot understand spiritual stuff because it's completely corrupted and polluted with a lot of different things from various births. So many lifetimes of births, we have collected so many vasanas because of which we have a dump, right? And that has to be purified. And only when that purification happens, again through Lord's mercy and our Acharya's mercy, then we will be able to understand Lord. Till then, we have to keep praying, we have to keep endeavoring, we have to keep putting our efforts by the process of service. This is important. And philosophers traveling at the speed of wind, they can't understand the Lord. And people who hypothesize, people who go by logic and people who try to understand through logic, the logic and reasoning to an extent can help understand Lord. But nevertheless, Lord has to shower his mercy upon us. How are we to reach Srimad Bhagavatam? Srimad Bhagavatam has to descend down upon us, meaning we have to be humble enough so that when we serve in that humble mood, Srimad Bhagavatam should reveal to us. That is how we can get the understanding of Srimad Bhagavatam. Scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam can be understood. It is Samadhi Bhasha. What is Samadhi Bhasha? Samadhi Bhasha is Bhasha that is understood by people in Samadhi, right? And if we were to understand that subject matter, which is Samadhi Bhasha, how are we to understand? We cannot understand by our endeavor. The mood of humility has to be there. Yes, I am ready to receive Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm ready to understand Srimad Bhagavatam. We may have heard Dhruva pastimes millions of times. Yes. But what is it for me? How am I to change? How am I to reform? How am I to engage engage in the service of the Lord through the understanding of Dhruva Charitra. This mood of humility has to be there so that Srimad Bhagavatam can descend down to a devotee. This is the mood we are talking about, dear devotees. It's very important to be in a humble state of mind in order to receive the spiritual subject matter, which is the point we are driving to in verse number 4. So these type of people who try to understand Lord, they cannot understand Lord. It's not possible. Okay. So we will move further on. And this is again, so the essence of this verse is that God cannot be understood by our free will, which is very important. And God can be understood only by the mercy of who? The mercy comes from the Lord and his dear devotees. This is why Vaishnavas are very important in our lives. It is important to serve the Vaishnavas. And we know a lot about what should not be done, what in terms of offenses to the Vaishnavas, isn't it? That's big aparat, and we should never criticize or blaspheme a devotee, because that definitely takes away the seed of devotional service. It hampers our devotional service, which we have watered till now. And all of a sudden, when we do aparat to a devotee, everything will vanish away. So very, very important learning lesson is that we should never, ever judge a devotee, because what happens when you start judging a devotee is that you will start finding faults, and this finding fault immediately what happens is it translates to criticizing devotees. Yes, this devotee, Mataji, this is what happened, that is what happened. All this gossip will happen. Okay, let's not go in that route and destroy the creeper of devotional service that is there in our hearts by committing the aparat. So the characteristics of the Lord is something that we need to see. Again, it is mentioned in the first slide. If we go back, we talked about God being fearless, isn't it? How are we to understand what is the difference between a Jiva and God? Mataji, you know what? I'm also fearless. I'm not at all fearful. I can do anything. You tell me, you name a task, I can do it. How are you to say I'm fearless? Somebody may say. How can you? So the person, what we are trying to see here is that there is a contrast between Jiva and the Supreme Lord. And that is how we can, of course, he can be glorified. But when we show the contrast, the glorification is apparent. That's what we are trying to do here. So when we understand what is the Jiva, how does he fear, and what is the reason for his fear, we can understand why Lord is fearless. So we look into the reasoning so that it will be stuck in your heart. Okay, Lord is fearless, but I'm fearful. I need to know why I'm fearful of and what I'm fearful of. This is what we are going to see at this now. So God is fearless. This is the concept. Okay. So there is an interconnection. Okay. When there is trembling, we all tremble, isn't it? What is this trembling caused due to? The trembling is caused due to fear. What are we afraid of? We are afraid of change. Change. Why are we afraid of change? What is the reason? We have to understand that. When we understand these reasons, everything will become clear from the perspective of Shastras. What is Shabda Praman telling us? In the end, we are afraid of what? We are afraid of death, isn't it? Everybody, in one form or fashion or the other, we are all afraid of death, which is the biggest change. But you know what? The soul is unchangeable. Very important point, dear devotees. The soul is unchanging in nature. And what happens? This material world, this Jagat, is constantly changing. Yes, we try to grab something and hold on to it, and we don't want to leave it, because we are looking for some kind of constancy, some kind of calmness, some kind of stability. But since we don't have it, we focus on this changing world. No, I'm not able to be calm, and that's why I get distracted and start focusing on this material world, and we experience fear as a result. So God is unchangeable, isn't it? And that is the reason why he doesn't have fear. When we start focusing on this changing material world, we get into fear. Yes, everything is changing. There's birth, death, old age, disease, everything around us is changing. This object, it remained as in this object, but broken after some time. But soul, it is not changing. And hence there is fear. because there is a contrast here. Within us, there is a contrast, isn't it? Because of our false ego, we are kind of covered due to ignorance, but the soul as such, it's Sachidananda, and it's not changing. And Lord, we understand he's not changing, and hence he is fearless. So people, again, if you look at the people perspective, what do they want? They're always wanting something better. Yes, you know what? I want to become a manager. I'm not happy with my current position because I need to earn more. I need to have good reputation among my peers. Even when I'm talking in front of people, I need to acknowledge and give a material designation to people to say who I am. This is not enough. So I'm going for a change. I'm going to be promoted as a senior manager very soon. This tendency is natural. He's hoping to have a good lifestyle, good opulence, maybe prestige. He's looking for prestige. And that is why he's looking for change. But people, they're also afraid of change, isn't it? All fear and grief is caused by this change. So fear is caused by what? There is a possibility of change. Oh, what is going to happen? I don't know. There might be an earthquake tomorrow, or I could be attacked by corona tomorrow. I could be attacked by this. I could be attacked by that. There is fear. And then grief. What is the reason for grief? It is caused by loss. We are afraid of change in the sense we are afraid of losing something that is attached to us. We possess something, and when we lose that thing, then obviously we are not happy about it. And that means loss, isn't it? Change means loss. So so God is unchanging, and hence he has no fear. But then when you look at the living entity, what happens to this living entity? He is torn apart because of this change, and which causes grief, and it causes fear as well. That is the difference between Jiva in terms of why he remains fearful and why God remains fearless. And to the extent we purify ourselves, we can also attain the qualities of the Lord. Of course, the proportion may not be the same to that of Lord, but then we can definitely attain the qualities of the Lord when we have purification happening. More we purify, more we are fearless. That is why everybody says, yeah, you know what? A devotee is fearless. Yes, it all happens and in gradual steps. We need to understand that. Of course, there is no doubt about it. A devotee is fearless, but the purification needs to happen. But why we fear? We understood the reason. If you are attached to something, if you are looking for a change and something doesn't go in the way that you want it, then fear is caused. And if you are attached to something and you lose that object of love, then fear is caused. The ultimate fear is the fear of death. Why we are having this fear? This fear happens due to the primary reason that the soul is unchanging. This is important. Because we have soul that is unchanging, it is not natural for us to be fearful. It's unnatural. And again, we are fearful to the extent that we have the false ego in us. To that extent, we will be fearful. This is the point. Okay, dear devotees. Okay, now coming to the slide. What is this slide talking about? I'm not able to see the heading. One second. Mental speculation. Yeah, we saw about this. Under the influence of Maya, what happens is the Lord, we are the ignorant jivas try to speculate about the Lord, but they cannot appreciate his full potency. So with the help of mind, what happens? I run somewhere for thousands of years, and the mind is the fastest. And it is said that this mind cannot understand the Lord. It is incomprehensible with the help of our mind, no matter how much we try to speculate. However, the important point that we need to understand is that we can, to some extent, understand Lord if we perform our duties following the Shastras. So if a person fulfills his duties, then he can come to the extent of knowing the unknowable mind of Lord. Okay? So, but if we simply run after him, try to grab him with the help of our mind, that is going to be doomed to failure. That's not going to happen. That's not going to get you anywhere. This is the contrast, dear devotees. And we'll try to move on to our next slide. How can we understand the infinite? The Lord is known only by his mercy, and one should try to learn about the Lord from Lord himself, the source of knowledge and Shastras. and the source of knowledge of the Vedas. So how can we know the God? So it is true, right? I mean, of course, we can understand, as we all have seen in different lectures, everybody says the point that is repeated is that we need to put in our endeavor. And when we put in an endeavor, then Lord shows his mercy upon us. To the extent we show our attachment to that Lord, towards the Lord, to that extent the Lord reciprocates with us. Etamam prapatyante principle, right? So this way we need to understand gradually. How can we understand the Lord? Gradually, by increasing our devotion, by surrendering to him through the process of surrender. Sharanagati. What is Sharanagati? Sharanagati has very two important limbs: Anukulyasya Sankalpa and Pratikulyasya Varjana. Doing things that are favorable for the Lord is something we have to do on a daily basis. Constantly keep checking ourselves. Again, to do this Anukulyasya Sankalpa, you have to know the Shastras. If without knowing the Shastras, how will you know if this is right or wrong? How will you know if Krishna likes this or Krishna likes that, doesn't like it? Shastras can help guide. Guru Sadhu Shastras can help guide, isn't it? So we need to understand our Guru Vani. We need to understand from the Shastras, what are the Shastras trying to tell us? And through that, Shabda Praman, we can do what is Anukul for Krishna consciousness. This is the point, dear devotees. Sharanagati is an important limb. We need to surrender. And this principle of Sharanagati will actually take us closer to Lord. To the extent we surrender to the Lord, to that extent, Lord will reveal himself to us. He's Britya Vashyata, isn't it? He becomes a subordinate to a devotee who surrenders to him. Can you imagine the Supreme Lord, who is supremely independent? He can become a subordinate or a servant when he actually sees the devotion in that devotee. This is incomparable. No, I really don't. This devotee, he doesn't want opulence. Nadanam, najanam, na sundarim. No, I don't want any of these things. That's what this devotee says. Oh, I'll give you fame, I'll give you prestige, I'll give you a lot of followers. What else do you want? I'll give you that also. Every time when Lord comes to a devotee and asks for benediction, what does the devotee ask for? Be it Prahlad Maharaj, be it Dhruva Maharaj, what do they ask? I want to be in the association of devotees. Isn't it? At any stage of devotional service, this association is very important. Whom are we associating with? Whom are we trying to associate with? That is the qualities we will imbibe. If you want lavlyam, you have to be with a devotee who has that greed to attain Krishna. So very important principle, dear devotees. I think association of devotees is very, very important in our progress. And following the limbs of Sharanagati to the extent as much as possible will definitely help us get closer to the lotus feet of the Lord. There's no doubt about it. Our Guru Vargas will be pleased when we know Shastras, isn't it? So many books are there written by our Acharyas. And if we don't read all of them, what is the point? We cannot expect this mercy will descend down upon us without us putting this endeavor to know about Lord. So we need to understand Lord with the help of us, with the help of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastras, not through speculation. Okay, and so we have to obviously do this act of devotional service to get closer to the Lord. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. So now coming to this slide, there are three principal energies of the Lord or potencies of the Lord. These are internal potency, marginal potency, and external potency. So now we definitely need to understand marginal potency because that's the category we belong. So when you look at it, we have three of them. So what is this internal potency? Internal potency is the Chit Sakti of the Lord, which is this spiritual world, the creation of the spiritual world, the paraphernalia and the spiritual world, and so on and so forth. That's the Chit Shakti of the Lord, the spiritual abode and everything. Marginal and potency, that is the Jivas, they belong to the Tatastha of the Lord. Okay, and we'll try to understand what this Tatastha is more, because that's something that we need to understand. An external potency of the Lord is how this material world is created. That's due to the external energy or Maya potency of the Lord. Okay, So we have internal potencies, examples. So there could be the spiritual abode, Nitya Parshadas, and material potency, again, demigods, human beings, and then external potencies, this material world, creation, things like that. Now we'll understand more of what this tatastha or the marginal energy means. And for that, Srimad Bhagavatam comes to us to help us understand what is tatastha, because without understanding tatastha, we don't know who we are. Okay, we need to definitely understand what kind of personality we are, so that we can definitely elevate, isn't it? That's the point. So there's always a teaching and the lessons learned that we can definitely imbibe in our lives as a result of understanding these verses, and that's what we should, as a devotee, we should always look out for. Okay, so now tatastha. The internal energy is tatastha means this sadhaka or this jiva, who's a human being, he can either go and take shelter of material energy, that is external potency of the Lord, or he could take shelter of internal potency of the Lord. So what is this, Mataji? The internal energy, as we all said, is inseparable from the absolute truth. It is just like this moonlight, which is not separate. It cannot be separated from the moon, right? The external energy is compared to that of darkness, and it keeps the sentient beings in the darkness of ignorance. And now we have this jiva. When a person takes the shelter of internal potency of the Lord, the darkness of ignorance goes away. Because wherever there is Krishna, there's no darkness. Maya hara antakara. Right? Devotional service or bhakti yoga is the function of internal potency of the Lord. So there is no place for the lower potency of the Lord, which is the material energy. So wherever there is devotional service, there we are safeguarded from Maya. Very important, isn't it? When we do this act of devotional service, then Maya cannot do anything to us. So we'll try to get into this verse, understand what Srimad Bhagavatam has to say. This is a very important verse, 11.2.37 from Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhayam dvitiya abhinivesha tasya isha tapetasya viparyayo smriti tanmaya yato buddha bhajetam bhaktya ikaesham gurudeva dhatma. So now, isha tapetasya. What happens? You are turning away from Krishna. You turned away now. Tanmaya yayo. Maya takes over. As soon as you turn away from Krishna, Maya is capturing you. Viparyayo smritihi. He forgets about the constitutional position and then starts to identify with what? He starts to identify himself with body and mind. Dvitiya abhinivesha tasyat. He gets absorbed in the matter. This is what happens as soon as you turn away from Krishna. And then Bhayam comes into play. Perpetuation, the fear of samsara, that causes the samsara, the perpetuation of samsara, which causes fear. This is what happens, dear devotees, as soon as we turn away from Lord Krishna. Now, Mataji, you talked about this aspect of fear. Okay, I understand. I'm turning away from Krishna. I'm identifying myself. I got captured by Maya. I'm trying to identify with myself with the body and mind instead of being the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. What am I supposed to do now? How am I supposed to get back to the original consciousness that I am supposed to be in? Yes, we have a solution. The solution is accepting Guru as the life and soul and engage in the process of devotional service of the Lord. This is the way you can actually come out of this loop of samsara. Okay, so we need to take shelter of Guru. Guru Padashraya is very important, and that is what actually protects us from everything. And if we have the strong mood of surrender, again, it's all internal, okay? Externally, anything could be there, okay? Externally, we could have a good tilak, we could wear nice dhoti kurta, nice sari, everything is fine. But internally, what our mood matters, and that Paramatma in our heart knows. So there is no problem. We cannot cheat anybody. And again, this Pratishta Asha is there. If it is there for a devotee, the only way to actually get out of this Pratishta Asha is by actually serving the pure devotee of the Lord. Because when you serve him, You look at his good qualities. Wow, he is such a great person, and yet he doesn't have a tinge of pride. Yet he doesn't have pratishta asha. Then why can't I? I'm so insignificant compared to this devotee of the Lord. If I'm going to have this trait, does it look good on me? No. This is this pratishta asha, getting over that pride, which is what manasiksha talks about, isn't it? Manasiksha, if you look at it, all these subtle elements of pratishta asha is being discussed, and the solution is that we need to, Raghunath Das Goswami, he describes the solution for you to get out of this pratishta asha is to serve the pure devotee of the Lord, to engage in his service, understand his qualities. And when you understand his qualities, you will understand how insignificant we are. So this is how we can actually get out of it. So Guru Padashri is very, very important. Following the Guru, following the words of Guru is very important. Internally, we have to have this mood. Externally, no problem. You can do what, externally, it's not so much important. The internal mood of devotion, which is known to you. What do you do when nobody is around? That is important. That is what will actually tell you who you are, who you really are. Because sometimes in front of devotees, we may be deceptive. Okay, we really don't know. It could be subtle form of deception that we may portray. So we definitely have to watch out our consciousness, because at the end of the day, nothing else matters. We need to surrender so that we can be with Krishna, serve the devotees eternally. This is the mood a devotee operates on. And we need to always keep checking ourselves, compare ourselves with ourselves. How are we before? How are we now? That comparison has to constantly go on for a devotee. Comparison should not be with others. No, that's not the right way to tackle this. Comparison should be how we are. Have we progressed? To check ourselves over a period of time, we have to do this checking, in trying to see how we have changed over a period of time. Okay, all right. So we are all parts of the Lord, right? Mamevamso jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha manashashtani indriyani prakritastani karshati. So the living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. We are all parts of the Lord. I'm sorry. So I'm just trying to move something here. Okay. Due to the conditioned life, we are struggling hard with our six senses, which include the mind. So I hope you all understood what the Tatastha Jiva is. Again, if we are going to desire and look after, if you want this material desires, then we take shelter of the material potency or the Maya potency of the Lord, the external potency. And if we want to serve the Supreme Lord, then we get that if we are operating in the mood of service, then what do we take shelter of? We take shelter of the internal potency of the Lord, and we get elevated from this material world to go to the spiritual world. Again, the mood of service is what is important for a jiva, which is in Tatastha Shakti, because that is what takes the person back home, back to Godhead. Okay. And we have, if you look at, I'm sorry to deviate, but I just want to make some concepts clear for you. Okay. Then if you look at the spiritual world, we have Nitya Parshadas, right? They are the permanent residents of the spiritual world. What do? They simply relish this aspect of devotional service. There is selfless material joy. They really don't care about this material enjoyment. Material enjoyment is nothing for them. It's aligned. If you ask them, given a choice, they definitely don't want a choice also. They're very happy and blissful in the spiritual world, isn't it? So prema to Krishna is their life. To serve Krishna as their goal, and nothing else matters to them. That is Nitya Parshadas, who have taken shelter, who are the internal potency of the Lord. Example is Nitya Parshadas. That's something I wanted to say as a contrast to this Tatastha Jiva. If he wants to enjoy this material world, then he's put into this loop of samsara, and he definitely needs to take effort and become selfless and serve the devotees of the Lord to get actually elevated and promoted to the spiritual world. Okay, dear devotees. So that's the concept on that. And then now understanding this, if you look at it, the part cannot be happy without serving the whole. That's the point. if the part is not serving the whole, that means he cannot be happy no matter what. He can try humpty number of humpty number of material happiness this world has to offer. He can try, but he will not be happy. Shastras have said that, and Shabda Praman has clearly proved that, no problem. You can try, keep on trying till your life, till the end of your life, but nothing is going to make you happy. The part can be happy only when it serves the whole. This concept has to be understood, dear devotees. This is very important takeaway for you. When can a part be happy? The part can be happy only when it serves the Lord. Only when it serves the Lord and the Lord and Vaishnavas, dear devotees. That's the point. Don't forget this. And now, if you look at this material world, we have people with different consciousness. I just wanted to sort of explain you what this consciousness of people mean and how are we to understand, what is the consciousness of a materialist, what is the consciousness of an impersonalist, and what is the consciousness of a devotee, so that we are able to see again the contrast between the different jivas that we have in this material world. So the materialistic idea, what is the materialistic idea? There is no world beyond this world. This world is meant for my enjoyment. So say, for example, somebody has a talent of singing, and this person actually sings mundane songs. He could just sing a song which is about attraction between a male and a female. What happens by this is that he tries to captivate others, and suppose this voice is so good, everybody gets captivated by this voice. Everybody gets captivated by this catchy music, catchy lines. And what happens as a result of it? This expert singer, he brings greater illusion, not only to himself, but all others who are listening to him. Whole set of people who are actually listening to him. He causes greater bondage, because as a result of this brings more attraction for people to live in this material world, enjoy this material world more and more. As a result, you're bound. You're not going to even attempt to get out of this material world, isn't it? This is what happens when we are utilizing the talents which are God-given. Instead of serving Krishna, if you are utilizing to gratify the senses, then you become bound. And what about the consciousness of an impersonalist? What is the idea of the impersonalist? Oh, yeah, this world is false. And everything in this world is definitely meaningless. No point. And we have to go beyond this world, beyond this illusion, and go to where? The reality, which is Brahman. This is what this impersonalist hankers for. And what about the talent that he has? What is he going to do? Suppose, again, considering the same example of you trying to sing and present this talent to everybody, what happens with that? So this person who is an impersonalist, he says, oh yeah, this is mundane. People get attracted to this love and everything. First of all, this music is mundane. This music, I would say, this voice is an illusion. This music is illusion, and the subject that you're singing about, that is also illusion. Ultimately, only thing that exists, I believe, from an impersonalist point of view, is that there is Brahman. What do I do with my talent? I just ignore them. Again, there are different grades of impersonalists, but we are just talking about a specific gradation in an impersonalist, and we are not going into details of who. Okay, Mayavadis, there is Brahmavadis, and we are not going into that. That's not the discussion of this topic. We are just trying to focus just on the consciousness of one class of impersonalists. That's all. Now, coming to the example of consciousness of a devotee. So what happens to this devotee? What is he going to do? He is going to utilize this talent of singing to glorify Krishna, to glorify the pastimes of the Lord through this aspect of singing, isn't it? He is going to obviously please the senses of the Lord and not please the senses of himself. No, he's not trying to gratify his senses, but he's trying to gratify Krishna's senses. So what is he doing? He's doing dovetailing. He's using the talent that he's attached to in Krishna consciousness. If we have some talent, then it can definitely be utilized to serve Krishna. Neha Bikramanasasti. This way, what happens? A little thing that you do to Krishna goes a long way. It gets what happens to you at the end of the day. These credits get added to your spiritual account. Isn't that glory? Isn't that nice? So suppose we don't perfect our lives, right? I mean, Bhagavad Gita says we are going to carry out our lives from wherever we left off. This is the guarantee that Krishna gives us. So as devotees, even if you do little seva to the Lord or Vaishnavas, that never goes unnoticed. This is a consciousness of a devotee. So perfect knowledge means to know the world in all his features, his potency, and how they work by his will. Okay, this is what is described in Bhagavad Gita. And then we are coming to this important concept. I know I'm running out of time, but yeah. Service attitude. What is service attitude? Every part of the soul, every part of the complete whole is endowed with a particular power to execute Lord's will. The Lord is known only by those who have adopted this submissive service attitude. One who actually forgets this is in Maya. I have a beautiful story of Ramanujacharya and his disciple, so that I wanted to go through to help you understand this aspect of service attitude. So just wanted to check with the group. Mataji, is it okay to maybe talk about the story for 5 minutes? Is that okay? Okay, don't know. I didn't hear. Anyways, so let's just discuss the story maybe for 5 minutes, understand the essence of it. Okay.
Yes, Mataji, please go ahead, Mataji.
Okay, thank you. So we have this story of Ramanujacharya and his disciple. But before that, we'll just go back a little. So Trikoshti Nambigal is one of the guru of Ramanujacharya. He was very pleased with Ramanujacharya because he wanted him to impart the meaning of Charama Shloka, which is the 18th verse. That is, Sarvadharman Parityajna Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tva Sarva Papepyo Mokshayishyami Machuchaha. This verse, in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, was something that Trikoshti Nambigal wanted to impart to Ramanujacharya. So he sent a word, Ramanujacharya, you please come alone. Okay, I want to impart this meaning of this Charama Shloka to you, and you should not reveal it to anybody. Okay, but Ramanujacharya, he told Nambigal that he would want to teach it to Kuratalvar because he's a very close disciple of mine. I want to actually teach this meaning of this Charama Shloka to Kuratalvar. And Nambigal told him that Kuratalvar, again, you can teach this meaning of 18th chapter to Kuratalvar, but again, I'm giving you one condition here. He should actually serve you for 1 year. And after the completion of that 1 year of service to you, then you can actually give this knowledge of this meaning of this verse to Kuratalvar. This is what I want you to do. And Ramanujacharya, he returned to Srirangam and he told Kuratalvar about what Trikoshti Nambigal actually told him. And Ramanujacharya told him about this condition as well. Kuratalvar, he was so disappointed. Oh my God, I don't know if I'm going to live the next moment. Ramanujacharya, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do as a servant? I may die any time. No guarantee that I may live the next minute. In such a situation, how am I supposed to wait for 1 year to actually get the meaning of this verse? I'm definitely, I definitely feel I should do something about it. He thought, he was not sure, okay? And that's why he expressed this to Ramanujacharya. And he remembered from the Shastras that if a person actually observes Upavas for 1 month, that's equal to actually serving the Guru for 1 year. So he observed fasting for 1 month in front of Ramanujacharya in his ashram, and he thus got his wish fulfilled. Now we have another disciple called Dasharati, who's also a disciple of Ramanujacharya, and he came to know about this somehow. And he went and prostrated before Ramanujacharya and begged him, please teach me the meaning of the 18th chapter. This Sarvadharman Parityajna verse, Charama Shlokam, please teach me. Adiyan is waiting for that. But Ramanujacharya told him, Trikoshti Nambigal gave me the permission to only share this Upatesham with who? With Kuratalvar. And Trikoshti Nambigal also told me not to share it with anybody. So I am not in a position to share it with you, dear devotee. What you can do is you can directly go contact Trikoshti Nambigal and you can get the meaning of the sloka. But Ramanujacharya told him, so this is what Ramanujacharya told him. So what happened? This Dasharati or Mudalianta, he went for 6 months. And he went to the Trikoshti Nambigal, but he did not get any positive signal from him. He waited, he did services, but Nambigal was not able to give him. And then Dasharati, one day he prostrated before Trikoshti Nambigal and he begged him, Nambikal, please tell me, what am I missing? Why are you not revealing this meaning of this mantra to me? Kindly let me know so that Adiyan can actually change my habits. Like that, he said. And then Nambikal told him, actually, you know what? You were proud of your wealth. You were proud of your learning. And not only that, you were proud a little bit because of your high caste as well. And that is why Ramanujacharya happened to send you here so that you may get controlled in those aspects. So that these things that are actually this mamatva that is there in you, it has to go away for you to actually benefit. I mean, actually to understand the meaning of the sloka, this mamatva must not be there. In a mood of humility only you can understand. When you have this component of pride, when you have the component of you being in the higher caste, or when you have the component of your learning, that is that actually obstructs you from understanding the real meaning, and hence we had to wait. And now I think you have controlled these aspects in you, and you are good to be revealed the meaning of this mantra. Please go and tell Ramanujacharya about it. And then now he said, so the Dashrathi actually was pleased to know about this. And then he went to Ramanujacharya and told him what had happened here, and everything that has happened, he revealed to him. At that time, what happened was, this is where a very nice incident happens, right? I mean, Lord arranges certain situation for us to actually see if we are going in the right path, and if we are exhibiting the right qualities. This is very, very such an incident where you can see the contrast that is happening here. So dear devotees, please pay some attention. Very interesting part of the segment. Now we have Ramanujacharya's another guru. His name is Nambigal, and his daughter Atuli also came to see Ramanujacharya. She came in tears actually. She came in tears to Ramanujacharya, and she said, sister, so Ramanujacharya was asking, sister, how can I help you? What's your problem? So now she's explaining her problem. I actually live at my home, and my mother-in-law, she sends me 2 miles every day to carry water, and there is no well nearby. Okay. And I'm not only in kitchen all day. I need to go get this water from the nearby area, whatever that's 2 miles away from my house. By the time I come, I become very tired. When I say this to my mother-in-law, she gets angry, and she started shouting at me also. So how can I cook? How can I take care of all these extra additional responsibilities that I have? I don't know what to do. We don't have extra money to get this taken care of. We can't pay a servant, to actually do this job, because we cannot afford such money. At that time, Ramanujacharya, he looked at Dashrathi. I have a good Brahmin here. He's also a good cook. He will serve you for free, no problem. He has, no money. You have no money, so no problem. He can just be there, serve you, and he's not going to ask you anything. He looked at Dashrathi, and Dashrathi said, oh yeah, I am ready to serve you, your master. That is what he said. Immediately he accepted it without any there's not even there will be some facial expressions that we can identify, right? As soon as you're told something, we will have our facial expressions. Looking at your facial expression, we can come to identify, what type of feeling you're having. Like that, this devotee, Dashrathi, he was told something by his spiritual masters. He just calm and quietly said, yes, master, I will obey your orders. That's all. And then while he was actually going to get some water from that area that is 2 miles away from the house, he saw some discussion was happening. So he went and participated in that discussion. There was this Pandit who was trying to actually do some, he was trying to teach a concept, and he was trying to chant Srimad Bhagavatam. While narrating Srimad Bhagavatam, there was some sort of impersonalism. And so now Dashrathi was hearing about it, and Dashrathi is properly trained under Ramanujacharya's guidance. And so he can very well understand what is the explanation of this verse, and how he's also able to see the impersonalism that is mixed in this Brahmana's words. So he began to lecture, and everybody, when he began to lecture, everybody opened their mouths. When a speaker is speaking something really, really a very high subject of philosophy, And subject that is not known, what happens? The speakers open their mouth. So that is what happened here. And we have the listeners who are listening to the narration of Dasharathi open their mouth. And so what kind? And then when inquired, who's this guy? He was actually told, yes, he's a chef. He's actually working at, so doing some service in Guru of Ramanujacharya's house, and that is who he is. And then as soon as the Brahmana understood it, for a moment he thought, oh, this guy is just a cook. And then somehow he started to criticize, and then understood, oh, I'm making a mistake. And then he understood what kind of chef he is. How is he able to get such big knowledge? All the people who heard this, they were in complete ecstasy. They asked, who are you? Who are you? Please confess who you really are. We know you are a chef there, but who are you really? And now he said, yeah, I have a service. I have to go. I have to take care of this person. They'll be waiting for water, and they'll also be waiting for me to cook and perform some service. And then they understood, oh yeah, Ramanujacharya sent Dasharathi for this service. We have to go and tell him how Dasharathi actually elaborated on this verse and spoke on this words, how he served with great humility, how he's carrying water, even though he's such a knowledgeable guy. In spite of it, he's doing such menial work with humility. This is what Dasharathi is. We have to go and tell Ramanujacharya, because Ramanujacharya may not understand his glory. So we need to go and tell him about the glory of this person, Dasharathi. And then they immediately went to Ramanujacharya and they expressed their ecstasy. Oh, he's such a learned man. He's such a knowledgeable person. And we got his association somehow by God's grace. And please, impart him more knowledge to him and keep him under your shelter, which is what they said to Ramanujacharya. And Ramanujacharya immediately understood, yes, my devotee is ready to get the meaning of, understanding the meaning of Sarvadharman Parityagya, and I will definitely impart that knowledge to him now. So this is what, dear devotees, very important to serve with humble humility. And even though we may know, it is impossible to know about Lord. First of all, we may know a teeny tiny bit, and if we get that pride in us to say, yeah, I know everything about the Lord, that pride will actually put us down. And only when we are humble, we will be able to get what Srimad Bhagavatam offers us, or Bhagavad Gita, what it offers us. We can understand from the story that it took such a long time for Dasharathi to actually get the meaning of Sarvadharman Parityagya, isn't it? So only when we have that mood of humility, then we will understand the real meaning of the Shastras. This is an important learning lesson, and the part cannot be happy without serving the whole. That is another concept. So now, going to our last slide for today's session is revival. When we intelligently utilize our active nature to understand that everything is Lord's potency, we can revive our original consciousness, which is lost due to association with Maya. So we definitely, as I told you, this Jiva is Tatastha, and we need to always make sure to be associated with devotional service, so there is no Maya. Okay, we need to intelligently make the best use of the bad bargain that is given to us to go back to Godhead and revive our original consciousness. It is there in us. It's just that it's covered due to ignorance. So we saw about the position of Krishna. We saw who cannot actually understand Krishna. We saw why we cannot understand him. So why can't one know him? We saw that it's due to Maya, it's due to material nature. The parts can't appreciate the whole. Even if you want to hypothesize, then you can't understand Krishna. So these are the reasons why we cannot know him. And how and who can know him? Only devotees through the mercy of the Lord, by playing a careful part, doing their duties, that can help them know about the Lord. And for that, you have to be in the mood of submissiveness, and humility has to be there. That is when we will know Krishna. So this is what, dear devotees, we saw in today's class. I hope you understood the import and the essence of what the meaning of this verse is. If you have any questions, you can definitely let me know. And for now, we will stop this session. Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripasandubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Thank you so much for patiently listening to this call. And thank you, dear Bhakti Sangha, for providing me this opportunity to glorify Lord Krishna and our Acharyas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Radhika, Kasturi, Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji, for beautiful class. Many lessons learned from this verse 4. Very grateful to you, Mataji. Nice story also. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Thank you, Vinita Mataji.
Needed whenever we are serving the Lord. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I open the forum for the question and answers. Devotees, if you have any questions, realizations, please raise your hand. Ribol. Yeah, Nitya Narsimha Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavad Pranam. What an amazing class, Mataji. So much nectarian. Mataji, my question, as you said that if you really want to understand the Srimad Bhagavatam, we should develop the mood of humility. Then only the Srimad Bhagavatam can be revealed to us. So would you kindly elaborate on that, Mataji, how to develop the humility?
That is, so that's what, Prabhuji, this mood of humility, see, it happens in different situations, right? When we actually have this stick, when we understand there's actually a bigger stick than this, then that is humility. We may think we are big, but we are not. There is somebody who's bigger than you, and that is Lord. When we understand Krishna is the proprietor, Krishna is the enjoyer, he's supposed to enjoy. The point is, we are not going to get happiness in this material world, no matter what. So our mood, when it's always in the attitude of servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord, that is when you're humble. Anytime when you have a materialistic mindset, or when you have some other corrupted mind, that time when you operate on something, when you perform action on something, that time we are not depicting humility. Trinatapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadaharihi. When can you perform sadaharihi? Only when you are humble, when you think. That is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, isn't it? So this mood of humility will come when you act in the platform of true ego. When we have true ego, when we are doing everything to please the Lord, not even a tinge, if we are having this material attachment for whatsoever, then we are operating in the platform of humility. At that time, our mind is not corrupted by any of this material attachments, greed, anger, lust, and even the subtle anattas are not there, which is pujala pratishta. When we don't have gross anattas or subtle anattas, at that time we are purified. At that time, the thing is, you may say, yes, Mataji, what do you mean? I understand Srimad Bhagavatam. We have been talking about it for such a long time. I've been in the movement for so many years that there is understanding of Srimad Bhagavatam in variety of ways. Okay, it can be partial. It can be, say, there is three comparisons to Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam in terms of lamb. Srimad Bhagavatam, when it's a lamb, you get partial understanding in terms of it. And when it's sunlight, then the sun rays are spread throughout, then you get understanding. Another understanding is Pibatam Bhagavatam. Like, Bhagavatam is the juice, the nectar, Pibatam. You can drink Bhagavatam. That is the level the Bhav Bhaktas and Prema Bhaktas relish. As soon as they hear Bhagavatam, even if it is creation topic, any topic for that matter, if they listen, they go into ecstasy, they faint. So this is what we are talking about, understanding Srimad Bhagavatam from different perspectives, meaning we can understand 10%, 20%, 30%. But if you want to completely relish Srimad Bhagavatam as a nectar, then if you want to get to that platform, we have to serve in the mood of humility and get obviously go into the highest platform of prema or bhava, which is what every devotee hankers for. And that as you know, there is stages, isn't it? Adho Shraddha, Tata Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti. And once Anartha Nivritti is done, then Nishta. Nishta is when we can understand, yes, there is steady devotional service. And after steady devotional service, we go into Ruchi, then Ashakti, and then Bhava and Prema. So this is the gradation a devotee looks for. And we are definitely hankering for that gradation where we progress up in the ladder. Hope that helps, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Very nicely explained. Mataji, last question about the fear fear of unknown, especially the death. How we can avoid this, Mataji? Because I am fear of death. That's why I'm asking this question.
Yes. Yes, Prabhuji, everybody, because the soul is unchanging. And that is why we are fearful of death, because death means there is change, isn't it? That is why there is a nature for us to be fearful. And why are we fearful? We need to understand. The fear is due to our attachments, mainly due to our attachments. If you're attached to something, if you're attached of your own life that you're living, and when we understand we are not the body, we are the soul, then that becomes clear. Oh yes, I'm deathless. Because this understanding comes as a devotee progresses in a spiritual life. And we are all, everybody has this human life, and this human life is for only one purpose and one goal, to go back to Krishna. And when we think about that aspect and operate in that mode, then devotee will get away from the aspect of fear. And the fear is due to attachments. Attachment to something. It could be this life that you're having a good wife, good children, everything is taken care of, I need to live more. Or it can be due to anything, right? I mean, if you have a fear of losing that. But we have to develop attachment towards Krishna. And when we develop this attachment towards Krishna and leave these material attachments that we have, then that component of fear will go away. Then we go closer to the lotus feet of Krishna, because he is fearless. Only when we go to a person who is fearless, we can become fearless. That's the point.
Thank you.
Hope that helps, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Is there any more questions for Mataji? Okay, if there are no more questions, we can end the call here. I would like to offer my obeisances to Mataji and all the Vaishnavas assembled on the call. Vancha kalpatarupyasya kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta koti Vaishnavrind ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Radhika Kasturi Mataji ki jai.
Vinita Gandharvika Mataji ki jai and Preeti Mataji ki jai. Thank you so much. And Lalitangi Mataji, Sukhsari Mataji, thank you all for your support as well. Totally appreciate it. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Very great.
Hare. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you everyone for joining. We'll meet next Tuesday for verse number 5. Very bold.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.